Now I have everything I need. Here is the full script. She had been standing at the gate for 41 minutes when her daughter's houseboy walked past her for the third time and did not stop. It was 6:17 on a Thursday morning in the Canton Mons district of Accra. The air still smelled of overnight rain and the damp red dust that settles on every surface when the harmattan goes quiet. Nana Ama Boateng was 71 years old, 94 pounds because she had been eating once a day for the past 8 months. And she was standing at the iron gate of her daughter's house in a gray cotton dress she had washed twice the week before, and pressed with a flat iron borrowed from her neighbor in Medina. The dress was clean. Her hands were not shaking, though they might have been forgiven for shaking, given everything. She held a plastic bag in her left hand. Inside it was a container of groundnut soup she had cooked at 4:30 that morning, and a small cloth pouch that had once belonged to her own mother, sewn in Kumasi in 1974, soft as old paper. Carrying inside it something she had kept for 32 years and told no one about. She had not told anyone she was coming. She was not sure she would be let inside. What the young man at the gate did not know, what her daughter Adais did not know, what no one standing in that compound knew yet, was that the cloth pouch in the plastic bag held a document that would change the legal ownership of the house they were all standing in. Nana Ama was born in Kumasi in 1953, the second of 4 children. Her father, Emmanuel Boateng, had been a cocoa trader with a modest plot of land off the Tema motorway that he had built over 22 years into something worth protecting. She had been a bright student, the kind who finished examination papers in half the allotted time, and then sat with her hands folded, waiting for the others to catch up. She had wanted to study accounting. Instead, at 19, she had married a schoolteacher named Kwame Osei because her father had asked her to, and because Kwame was a kind man who smelled of chalk and groundnut oil, and who had looked at her like she was the most complete answer to any question he had ever tried to solve. They had built a life between them. Kwame taught at the secondary school in Osu for 27 years. Nana Ama kept the household accounts in a blue notebook, not because anyone asked her to, but because numbers were the language she trusted most. She knew the cost of everything in that house. The 47 pesewas difference between the market price of tomatoes on Monday versus Thursday. The exact amount they had saved by switching from bottled cooking gas to charcoal for 3 years. The total sum she had contributed to the family's savings between 1976 and 1994. She never mentioned the notebook. She simply kept it, adding figures the way a person adds water to a pot, steadily, without ceremony. They had 1 child, Adaizi, born in 1981, named with her paternal grandmother's Igbo name because Kwame's mother had asked for that and because Nana Ama had understood, even then, that a name is a kind of debt, and she did not mind carrying it. Adaizi had been a beautiful child, and then a beautiful woman, and then a successful one. And Nana Ama had accepted each transformation the way you accept the seasons, with gratitude and a small, quiet grief for what you are leaving behind. Adaizi had married a property developer named Gerald Owusu Boateng in 2009 and moved into the house in Canton Mons in 2011. And somewhere inside that sequence of years, the visits had grown shorter and the phone calls had grown less frequent. And then one year, the phone calls had simply stopped arriving, and Nana Ama had not called either, because she had been raised by a woman who understood that dignity is not something you trade in order to be chosen. Kwame died in 2019, in August, on a Sunday. He had been sick for 11 months. Nana Ama had sold the last of her own jewelry, a pair of gold earrings her mother had given her on her wedding day, weight 14 grams, sold for 340 cedis at a shop on Osu Oxford Street to pay for his final hospital bill. There was nothing dramatic about the selling. She had taken the earrings out held them in her palm for a moment, then placed them on the jeweler's scale with steady hands. After Kwame died, she had moved to a single room in Medina, near the home of her neighbor Mami Esi, who was 73 and walked with a cane and brought Nana Ama rice on the evenings she knew Nana Ama had not eaten. Nana Ama cooked the groundnut soup in her small kitchen in exchange. It was an arrangement they had never discussed. It had simply settled into place the way things settle when two old women understand the world's math. The gate of Adazi's house was painted dark blue. Nana Ama noticed this because the last time she had visited, 6 years ago, it had been painted green. She wondered who had decided to change it. She wondered if Adazi had chosen the color or if Gerald had, or if it had simply been the painter's suggestion. She was still thinking about this when the houseboy, a thin young man of about 20 in a yellow t-shirt, walked past her for the 4th time. "Please," she said. "My name is Nana Ama Boateng. I am looking for Adayeze. She is my daughter." The young man stopped. He looked at her dress. He looked at the plastic bag. Then he looked at the gate. "Madam is sleeping," he said. "She doesn't wake before 9. "I will wait," Nana Ama said. He went back inside. She stood. The morning traffic on the road behind her built slowly, buses and trotros adding their noise to the air, fuel and exhaust and the particular smell of the city coming to life. A woman carrying a tray of oranges on her head walked past and did not look at her. A security guard at the house next door watched her for a while and then looked away. A dog came to the wall of the compound opposite and barked twice, and then went quiet. The sun moved. Nana Ama did not move. She was not rigid. She was simply still in the way that people are still when they have decided something and are waiting for the world to catch up to their decision. At 8:44 a.m., the gate opened. Adayeze was 39 years old, nearly 6 feet tall, dressed in a pale yellow house dress that probably cost more than Nana Ama's rent for 3 months. She wore her hair pinned up and her face was clean and alert, the face of someone who had woken up properly and done everything they needed to do before they appeared in front of another person. She stopped when she saw her mother, not because she did not recognize her, because she did. "Mama," she said. "Good morning," Nana Ama said. A moment passed between them that had years in it. "You should have called," Adazi said. "I didn't know you were coming." "I didn't have credit on my phone," Nana Ama said. This was true. Adazi looked at the plastic bag. "What is that?" "Groundnut soup. I made it this morning. I know it's your favorite." Adazi's hand rested on the gate. She did not open it wider. Behind her, through the gap, Nana Ama could see the compound, swept red tiles, a potted plant near the front door, a child's tricycle near the steps. She had a grandchild in that house. She had never met him. He had been born in 2020 in October, and she knew his name only because Mami Esi had heard it from someone at the market. "Mama, this is not a good time," Adazi said. "Gerald is home. He has a meeting at 10. Nana Ama looked at her daughter. She looked at her the way she had looked at examination papers in 1968, slowly, precisely, recording everything. "I understand," she said. "I can wait outside until after the meeting." "That could be the whole day." "I know." Adais made a sound that was not quite a sigh and not quite a word. "Give me the soup," she said. "I'll take it. But today is not good, Mama. Come another time." She reached through the gate gap and took the plastic bag. She did not take it with both hands. She did not meet her mother's eyes when she took it. She turned back toward the house and said, over her shoulder, "I'll call you." The gate closed. It made a sound like a full stop at the end of a sentence Nana Ama had been trying to finish for 6 years. She stood there for 3 more minutes. Then she turned and walked back toward the road. If this story is already doing something to your chest, subscribe now. Because what comes next is something that was hidden in that plastic bag from the very beginning. She walked 4 blocks before she found a bench at the edge of a small market. She sat down. A woman beside her was selling smoked fish and fresh garden eggs, and the smell of the fish was sharp and warm and real, and Nana Ama sat in it without moving. She had not eaten yet. She had given away the groundnut soup. She had not planned anything beyond this point. She opened her hands in her lap and looked at them. At the knuckles she had counted when she was counting money late at night after Kwame had gone to sleep. At the calluses on the pads below her fingers from 30 years of cooking and washing and pressing and carrying. She had not planned anything, because the plan had only ever been to get to the gate and to say the things she needed to say, and to leave the cloth pouch where it needed to be left. But she had not said the thing. And the pouch was still in her pocket, because she had put it there when Adaz had taken only the soup container and left the bag. She reached into the pocket of her gray dress and felt the pouch between her fingers. Soft, old, certain. Inside the pouch, folded into quarters, was a document her father had pressed into her hands in 1991, 3 months before he died. He had told her to keep it somewhere her husband would not find it. He had told her it was for her, specifically for her, and that there would come a day when she would understand why. The document was a deed, registered at the Lands Commission in Accra, stamped and witnessed by 2 men whose signatures were still legible, transferring ownership of a piece of land in the Cantonments district from Emmanuel Boateng to his daughter Nana Ama Osei, upon the event of the original owner's death and the completion of the building raised on that land. The building had been completed in 2011. The land on which Adai's house was built belonged, according to the Lands Commission record and the original deed, not to Gerald Owusu Boateng, who had purchased it from a man named Dexter Achebe in 2008, but to Nana Ama Boateng, who had never sold it. Because no one had ever told her it existed until her father pressed the pouch into her hands and said quietly, "Your mother's family land. I bought it back for you in 1982. I never found the right time to say." She had not told Kwame. She had kept it for 32 years because she had known, without being able to explain why, that the moment to use it had not yet come. She was sitting on a bench in front of a smoked fish stall in the Cantonments district of Accra at 9/11 on a Thursday morning, and she thought the moment might be arriving now. She did not go back to the gate that day. She went instead to the offices of a woman named Mame Pauline Owusu Mensah, a retired legal clerk who had worked at the Lands Commission for 29 years and now ran a document authentication service from a room above a printing shop on Osu Oxford Street. Nana Ama had known Pauline since 1978, when they had attended the same church and stood together in the choir. They had not spoken in 11 years. Nana Ama walked in without an appointment at 10:33 a.m. and set the unfolded document on the table and said, "I need to know if this is still valid." Pauline put on her glasses. She was 67, small, with hands that moved through paper the way a doctor's hands move through a body, feeling for things that were not supposed to be there and things that were supposed to be there and weren't. She read the document for 4 minutes without speaking. Then she read it again. Then she set it down. "Where have you been keeping this?" she said. "My pocket," Nana Ama said. "Since 1991. Pauline pressed both hands flat on the desk. "Nana Ama, this is a properly registered deed. The parcel number matches the current gazettement for Plot 14C in the Cantonments district. If no countervailing deed supersedes it, and from what I can see, the 2008 sale to the man named Achebe had a defective title because it originated from a 1996 municipal resurvey that misidentified the ownership records, then this document is not just valid. She took off her glasses. This document means that house belongs to you. The morning traffic outside continued. A bus horn sounded twice. Somewhere below them, the printing machine ran. Nana Ama sat with her hands folded in her lap and did not say anything. And the room held itself around them. And outside the sun was fully up over Accra. The day was going about its business as though nothing had shifted, though something had. What Pauline did over the following 11 days was methodical. She submitted an inquiry to the Lands Commission under the Land Title Registration Act. She engaged a property lawyer named Abina Chidinma, who worked out of a firm on Tema Motorway and who had spent 17 years untangling disputed land title cases in Greater Accra. Abina Chidinma was 44 years old, had a reputation for precision that other lawyers described as uncomfortable to be on the other side of, and who, on the morning she read the Boateng file, called Pauline and said, in a voice that was entirely controlled, "This is one of the cleanest cases I have seen in 9 years. Where has this woman been?" Gerald Owusu Boateng received a registered letter on a Monday at 8:02 a.m. It was addressed to him and to Adayeze Owusu Boateng and to the offices of the developer who had sold them the property in 2011. It was from the firm of Chidinma and Associates. It was 8 pages long. Gerald read the first 2 pages, stopped, read the first 2 pages again, then called his own lawyer from the same chair he was sitting in. Adayeze did not call her mother that day. She called her the following morning at 6:58 a.m. The phone rang 3 times before Nana Ama answered. There was the sound of the room in Medina, the creak of the chair, the quiet of an early morning, and then Nana Ama's voice. "Good morning." Adayeze said, "Mama, what have you done?" There was a pause of 4 seconds. "I brought you groundnut soup," Nana Ama said. "I left it at the gate." The response that came from the gate of Adayeze's house 3 weeks later was not Gerald and not Adayeze, but Abina Chidinma, who arrived at 9 a.m. with 2 junior associates and a set of documents that she placed on the dining table of the house in Cantonments in front of Gerald and Adayeze and their lawyer and a representative from the Lands Commission, and read aloud. Nana Ama sat across the table from her daughter. She wore her gray dress, washed and pressed. She had borrowed the flat iron from Ma Mayesi again. She had eaten breakfast. She sat with her hands folded on the table and her eyes steady, and she looked at her daughter the way she had always looked at her, as though Adayeze were the complete answer to a question Nana Ama had been carrying since before the girl was born. Gerald's lawyer spoke for 40 minutes. Abina Chidinma listened and said very little, and at one point simply passed a document across the table with one finger and said, "Page 4, paragraph 3. Gerald's lawyer went quiet. The Lands Commission representative said, "The original deed predates all subsequent transactions. The 2008 sale was conducted without clear title. The 1996 resurvey error has been documented. The Commission's position is that the registered title reverts to the original beneficiary." Gerald said something. His lawyer put a hand on his arm. Adayeze said nothing. She looked at the table. She looked at the document. She looked at her mother's hands folded on the table in front of her, the hands she had watched cook and count and carry for 39 years. And she looked at them the way a person looks at something they have seen their whole life and never once seen before. The resolution was not immediate, and it was not simple. Land title disputes in Accra rarely are. But by the Wednesday of the following month, a formal settlement had been reached. The house in Cantonments would remain under Adayeze and Gerald's occupancy under a 50-year registered lease agreement at a nominal fee to be paid monthly to Nana Ama Boateng. The original deed, having been properly registered, could not be unmade. Gerald's developer was found to have knowingly transferred a defective title, and the case was referred to the Accra High Court, where it was eventually settled with a significant financial payment directed not to Gerald, but, at Nana Ama's instruction, to a bursary fund for female students at the secondary school in Osu, where Kwame Ose had taught for 27 years. Nana Ama moved to Cantonments in November, not into the main house. There was a self-contained unit attached to the rear of the compound. 2 rooms, a kitchen, a bathroom with a window that looked out at a small courtyard where someone had planted a mango tree. She painted the walls a very pale yellow, because that was the color she liked. And she hung a photograph of Kwame on the wall above the table where she ate. And she bought a second blue notebook from the stationery shop at Makola Market, because the first one was full, and she began keeping accounts again. She met her grandson on the day she moved in. His name was Emmanuel. He was 4 years old, with Kwame's forehead and Adaizi's eyes, and he walked directly up to her in the courtyard and said, "Are you my grandmother?" And she said yes, and he said, "Your hair is very white." And she said, "It was always trying to catch up with how old I felt." And he laughed without understanding the joke, the way children do. And she picked him up, and he was the exact right weight in her arms. Adaize brought her food on the first evening. She brought jollof rice and fried plantain in a container and set it on Nana Ama's table. She stood for a moment with her hands at her sides, and Nana Ama did not say anything that required an answer, and Adaize did not say anything that required forgiveness. She sat down at the table, and they ate together in the yellow room, and the mango tree outside was quiet in the evening, and the city made its ordinary sounds around them. There are people who mistake a gate for the end of the road. They close it, they walk back inside. They tell themselves the decision is final, and that what has been shut out is gone. They do not understand that some things cannot be shut out. Not by iron gates painted blue, not by unanswered phones, not by the careful maintenance of absence. They do not understand that a woman standing at a gate with clean hands and a cloth pouch and 32 years of patience is not someone who has come to beg. She has come to wait. And the difference between begging and waiting is everything. You can look at a person who has given you everything and decide she is worth less than what you have built from what she gave you. You can make that calculation every morning for years and believe it is the correct calculation. But the world keeps its own accounts. The figures that don't appear in your column appear somewhere else. The things you think you have been given for nothing are the very things that have been quietly deciding the terms. Some doors close in front of the wrong person. That person walks away, yes. She finds a bench. She eats nothing. She holds a cloth pouch in her pocket that she has been carrying for 32 years. She does not throw it away, because she was raised by a woman who understood that everything your mother puts in your hands is something you are meant to one day deliver to the person who needs it most. And the moment always comes. Not when you plan it. Not when the world is watching. At a desk above a printing shop, in the hands of an old friend who still knows how to read. The night Adaize turned away from her mother at the gate and went back into her house, she did not sleep well. She knew this about herself, but told herself other things instead. The truth is that she already knew what she was doing, in the place in her body where people know things they are not ready to say yet. The truth is that she had always known, because she had been raised by a woman who taught her to keep accounts and who had told her once, when she was 9 years old, that the most important thing you can be is the person who keeps showing up. Adaize had known this when she heard it, and she had put it somewhere safe. And years later, when she reached for it, she found it still there, unchanged. In the morning, she walked into a pale yellow room and sat across from her mother at a small table and pushed a container of jollof rice across the table without being asked. That was her showing up. That was the ledger balancing in the only direction that matters. Nana Ama ate the rice slowly. She said it was very good. Adaizi said she had used less pepper than usual. Nana Ama said that was fine. Outside the courtyard window, Emmanuel was riding his small tricycle in a circle, over and over, happy with the perfect repeating logic of it. Here is what I want to ask you before we go. If your mother had stood at your gate on a Thursday morning with clean hands and groundnut soup and 32 years of something important, and you turned her away, and 3 weeks later the world showed you exactly what you had turned away, what would you do next? Not what would you think. Not what would you explain. What would you do? Leave your answer in the comments. I really want to read it. Subscribe if these stories find the part of you that already knows the answer. This channel is for the people who understand that quiet endurance is not weakness. It is the longest kind of strength there is. I'll see you in the next one.